What if AI could judge its own work and get better without needing constant feedback from us humans? Sounds pretty sci-fi, right? Well, hold on to your hats, folks, because that future might be closer than we think. We're diving deep today into self-taught evaluators, a real game changer.
It really is a fascinating development.
So, to kick things off, can you give us a quick breakdown of what exactly a self-taught evaluator is? I know it's based on this idea of LLM as a judge.
Yeah, so basically we're talking about using large language models, these powerful AIs,
Yeah.
to evaluate the output of other AIs. But here's the kicker. They don't just spit out a simple yes or no. Instead, they provide what we call reasoning chains, which are basically step-by-step explanations of their thought process.
Okay, that makes sense. So we can actually see how these AI judges arrive at their decisions. It's not just a black box.
Exactly. And that explainability is a game changer. It opens up a whole new level of transparency and understanding when it comes to AI evaluation.
I bet. But hang on, haven't we always relied on, like, huge amounts of human-labeled data to train these AI judges?
Hmm.
And isn't that a major bottleneck in AI development?
You're absolutely right. Relying on human-labeled data has always been this massive problem. It's expensive, it's time-consuming, and it can quickly become outdated as AIs evolve. And that's where self-taught evaluators come in. They offer this brilliant workaround.
Workaround. Okay, I'm intrigued. How so?
See, they use synthetically generated data to bootstrap their learning process. They essentially eliminate the need for all that constant human feedback.
So they actually create their own training data.
Precisely. And it's a really clever process.
Well, don't keep us in suspense. Break it down for us. How does this self-taught magic actually happen?
Okay, so picture this. You start with a big pool of unlabeled instructions. Think of it like a grab bag of different tasks for the AI to tackle.
So it's not pre-categorized data. The AI is kind of out there foraging for itself.
Exactly. It has to sift through everything and select a balanced set of challenging instructions, particularly those that require reasoning skills. It's like targeted training.
Okay, makes sense. So the AI picks its own curriculum in a way. What happens next?
Well, now comes the really ingenious part. For each instruction, the AI is prompted to generate two responses, one that's considered good and another that's deliberately not so good. This creates what we call a synthetic preference pair.
So the AI is like playing both sides of the game, creating its own examples of good and bad performance. That's wild.
Right. It's this self-contained training ground, but it gets even cooler. The AI then puts on its judge hat and reviews these pairs like multiple times. It generates reasoning chains and verdicts for each one.
Hold on. So it creates the task, then it solves it two different ways, then it judges its own work.
Yep, all on its own. But there's a crucial step here. Only the judgments that align with the good response are kept for training. All the bad judgments get tossed out.
So it's like building in a quality control mechanism right from the start, making sure the AI learns from its successes, not its mistakes. Pretty impressive.
It's a brilliant self-correction system. And this whole process, the self-generated data, it gets used to fine-tune the AI judge, making it even better at its job.
So it's like this continuous cycle of self-improvement. The AI is constantly learning and refining its evaluation skills.
Exactly. And to really test this out, the researchers put together a self-taught evaluator using the Llama 370B Instruct model and ran it through the reward bench evaluation.
Oh, reward bench. That's a tough benchmark, right? Known for being pretty rigorous.
Absolutely. And even on this challenging benchmark, they saw some incredible results. The AI judge was able to boost its accuracy from a respectable 75.4% all the way to a whopping 88.3%.
Hold on, 88.3%? That's amazing, especially considering how tough reward bench is. I mean, are we talking like better than some models trained on tons of human-labeled data?
That's exactly what we're talking about. This self-taught approach is achieving accuracy that's on par with or even exceeding some of the best human-trained models out there.
Wow. I have to admit, I'm pretty blown away by this. So they take this AI, they let it teach itself how to judge, and it ends up being just as good, if not better, than the models we've been painstakingly training with human data for ages.
It's a pretty remarkable achievement. And they didn't stop there. They actually found a way to boost the accuracy even further using what they called a majority vote system.
Majority vote. Okay, how does that work?
Well, basically, instead of just having the AI make one judgment, they have it make multiple judgments on the same input. And then whichever verdict comes up most often, that becomes the final decision.
Ah, so it's like getting a second opinion or even a third or fourth opinion to make sure the AI is being consistent in its judgments.
Exactly. And using this majority vote method, they were able to push the accuracy up to 88.7%.
So not just accurate, but consistently accurate. That's impressive. And tell me, was this success limited to reward bench, or did they test it on other benchmarks as well?
Oh, they definitely didn't stop with just one test. They also ran it through MT Bench and Help Steer too. And in both cases, the self-taught evaluator continued to shine. It was clear that this technique wasn't just a one-trick pony. It could be applied to all sorts of different evaluation tasks.
This is feeling like a major leap forward in AI development. But before we get too carried away, I'm curious about the details. When the researchers dug a little deeper into these results, what else did they discover?
Well, one of the most interesting things they found was that using different types of synthetic data could actually improve specific evaluation skills. Like if they trained the AI judge on coding problems, it got better at evaluating code. Same thing with math questions or any other specialized area.
Oh, that's fascinating. So it's not just about the sheer amount of data. The type of data really matters. It's like tailoring the training to the specific skills you want the AI to develop.
Precisely. They even found that combining synthetic data with just a small amount of human-labeled data could actually boost performance even further. Sort of a best of both worlds situation.
Interesting. So it's not an all or nothing approach. There's still a role for human input, even in this self-taught system. It's like giving the AI a little nudge in the right direction.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But, it's important to remember that this whole thing isn't a silver bullet. There are still some limitations. For example, right now, this system still relies on a pretty advanced AI to get the ball rolling. That initial seed model needs to be quite capable.
So we can't just take any old AI and turn it into a self-taught evaluator. It still requires a pretty sophisticated starting point.
Exactly. And another thing is that the system works best when it's making pairwise comparisons. Deciding which of two things is better. It's not quite as good at assigning a single score.
I see. So it's like a judge in a competition. They can rank the contestants, but maybe not give each one a specific numerical score. But even with those limitations, this still feels like a huge step towards making AI development more autonomous and efficient. I mean, we're basically giving AIs the tools to become their own teachers. And one of the things I find really exciting is the potential to actually see how these AI judges are thinking, to look inside their minds, so to speak, and understand how they reach their decisions.
You're talking about those reasoning chains we mentioned earlier. And yeah, analyzing those can be incredibly insightful. It's amazing how closely they resemble the way humans explain their judgments.
Wait, so these AIs aren't just mimicking human judgment. They're actually adopting human-like reasoning patterns. That's fascinating.
It really is. For example, in some cases, the AIs were observed to break down complex tasks into smaller, more manageable subtasks, just like a human expert might do.
So they're not just relying on brute force computation or simple pattern recognition. There's a level of logical deduction, of problem solving, that feels very human.
Exactly. And that ability to generate these human-like reasoning chains is super important for building trust in AI systems. If we can understand the why behind an AI's decision, we're much more likely to accept it, even if we don't always agree with it.
It makes the AI seem less like a black box and more like, well, a partner, someone we can actually have a dialogue with.
Absolutely. And that opens up all sorts of possibilities for collaboration. Imagine being able to sit down with an AI and actually discuss its evaluation criteria, debate its reasoning, and maybe even arrive at a shared understanding. It could change the way we develop and interact with AI in a fundamental way.
That's a pretty powerful vision. But let's bring it back to the research for a moment. Did they uncover anything particularly surprising when they were analyzing these reasoning chains?
They did. In some cases, the AI judges were actually able to identify subtle flaws or inconsistencies in the responses that even human evaluators might have missed.
So they're not just replicating human judgment, they're actually exceeding it in some areas.
Exactly. They could pick up on subtle biases in the language or factual errors or even logical fallacies that a human reviewer might overlook. It's like having an incredibly meticulous editor who never gets tired.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. It has huge implications for things like content moderation, fact-checking, even scientific peer review. We could use these AI judges to really boost quality and accuracy in all sorts of fields.
Absolutely. But of course, as with any new technology, there are still some challenges to overcome.
That's what I was just about to ask. What are some of the areas that still need work?
Well, one of the things they notice is that sometimes the reasoning chains could be a bit verbose or repetitive, difficult for a human to really parse quickly.
So the AI is super smart, but it hasn't quite mastered the art of concise communication, like a brilliant professor who gets lost in the weeds a little bit.
Yeah, something like that. And another concern is making sure that the reasoning chains are actually a genuine reflection of the AI's thought process, and not just some kind of post hoc rationalization.
All right, we don't want the AI to just be making up excuses for its decisions. We need to be confident that its reasoning is authentic.
Exactly. And that's going to require more research into methods that provide deeper transparency into how these AI judges work internally. We need to be able to trace the AI's thought process all the way back to its source.
It sounds like we're still in the early stages of really understanding what these self-taught evaluators are capable of and what their limitations are. But the potential is huge.
Oh, absolutely. This research is incredibly promising. I think we're on the cusp of a major breakthrough in how we develop and evaluate AI.
I'm inclined to agree with you. Before we wrap up, I'd love to step back and consider the bigger picture. What does the emergence of self-taught evaluators mean for the future of AI and its role in society as a whole? It feels like we're entering uncharted territory here.
Yeah, it really does feel like we're at a turning point, especially when you think about how these AI judges could change the way we develop AI itself.
It's like AI is becoming this self-sustaining ecosystem. So where do we even begin to unpack the implications of all this?
Well, I think the most immediate impact is going to be on the speed and efficiency of AI development. By reducing our reliance on human labeling, self-taught evaluators could really accelerate the training process. We could be looking at much faster iteration cycles, quicker feedback loops.
It's like putting AI development on hyperdrive.
Yeah.
So not only are the AI judges getting smarter, but they're also helping other AIs get smarter faster.
Right, exactly. And that increased speed could lead to a much wider range of AI applications becoming available, things we haven't even thought of yet.
It's both exciting and a little daunting, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's not just about speed, is it? There's also the potential for these self-taught evaluators to actually improve the overall quality and robustness of AI as a whole.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. These AI judges are constantly learning from this massive, ever-evolving data set of synthetic data. They're developing this incredibly nuanced and comprehensive understanding of quality, something that a human evaluator could never achieve on their own.
So it's like having an army of superpowered AI experts constantly scrutinizing and refining the output of all the other AIs out there.
That's a great analogy. And as a result, we could see AI systems becoming more accurate, more reliable, more resistant to the kinds of biases that often creep into human judgments.
Which is honestly pretty crucial as we start to rely on AI for more and more critical tasks, in things like healthcare, finance, transportation, areas where even small errors can have huge consequences.
Absolutely. We need to be able to trust these systems, and self-taught evaluators could play a key role in building that trust.
It feels like this is pointing to a pretty significant shift in the relationship between humans and AI. It's not just about us creating and controlling AI anymore.
It's about collaboration, partnership.
Right, exactly. As AI becomes more sophisticated, more capable of evaluating its own work, it's becoming less of a tool that we wield and more of a collaborator.
I think that's a really important insight.
And this shift has huge implications for, pretty much everything. How we work, how we learn, how we define creativity. It's kind of mind-blowing when you really stop and think about it.
No kidding. Let's start with work, for example. As AIs get better at evaluating their own performance, they're going to be able to take on more and more complex tasks. Tasks that, frankly, we used to think were uniquely human.
Right. So we're not just talking about automation replacing manual labor here. We're talking about AIs potentially taking on roles that require things like critical thinking, problem solving, even artistic expression.
Exactly. And while that can sound a little scary, it also presents an incredible opportunity. It could free us up from all those repetitive, mundane tasks and allow us to focus on the things that really make us human, things like empathy, creativity, strategic thinking.
It comes back to that idea of collaboration. We need to figure out how to work alongside AI, not just above it, to find ways to leverage the strengths of both humans and machines.
And that brings us to education. Imagine a world where AI tutors could assess your strengths and weaknesses, tailor learning materials to your specific needs, and give you instant feedback on your progress.
Personalized learning at its finest. It'd be like having a personal coach for your brain, guiding you every step of the way.
And think about what that could mean for human teachers. It could free them up to focus on mentorship, inspiration, those deeper aspects of learning that can't be replicated by a machine.
So it's not about replacing teachers. It's about empowering them, giving them the tools to be even more effective. But maybe, just maybe, the most profound implication of this whole self-evaluating AI revolution is how it might change our understanding of ourselves.
As AI becomes increasingly capable of judging things like creative output, it really forces us to confront some fundamental questions about what it means to be creative.
Yeah, what does it even mean for something to be original anymore? Can an AI be truly creative? Or is it just mimicking patterns that it's learned from human-generated data? These are questions that, philosophers have been debating for centuries, but now they're taking on a whole new urgency in the age of AI.
And who knows, maybe by studying how AIs approach these creative tasks, we might actually learn something new about our own creative processes.
Like looking into a mirror and seeing ourselves reflected back in a way that challenges our assumptions and pushes the boundaries of what we thought was possible.
It's a pretty humbling thought, isn't it?
It is. As these lines between human and machine intelligence continue to blur, it really forces us to reevaluate our own unique qualities. What does it mean to be human in a world where AI can learn and evolve on its own?
Big questions for sure.
Big questions, but ones that we need to start grappling with now.
Well said. This is a really exciting and a little bit unnerving time to be alive.
I agree. The future is unfolding right before our eyes, and AI is playing a bigger and bigger role. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we encourage you to keep thinking about the questions we've raised today. What other breakthroughs are waiting just around the corner? How will we adapt to this rapidly changing landscape? The future of AI is still being written, and it's a story that we're all a part of. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.